Welcome, marvelous makers,
and art appreciators,
to the ArtSpace podcast,
brought to you by Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace,
located at 4601 Sheridan Road.
Stop on by. Is that getting old yet?
No,
Stop
I
on
don't
by.
know.
One of the catchphrases we mentioned earlier.
Maybe
to our
insert
guest
catchphrase
off air.
here.
But you should come here. Oh, maybe that's the new catchphrase. You should come here to Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace, your favorite citrus-themed art gallery.
Oh, gosh. And I am your host, Shelby Nesmith.
And I'm Jake Hoy.
And today we are with the lovely Brenna Eaves.
Hello.
Hi, hi,
Hi,
hi.
hi.
Also known as Little Raven
Fiber
Arts.
Arts.
That's
Yes.
what it is. Yeah. So you are a fiber artist.
I am indeed mostly crochet, but I do know how to knit. I like to believe I know how to weave. I don't have a whole lot of
Oh.
experience there except for cardboard looms, but don't knock it. And
That's Jake's area right
we're
there.
gonna get to
Yeah.
that. Believe
He's
me.
like, I love looms.
looms.
But that was going to be my first question. Fiber. So we're not talking dietary.
We're
Oh,
not talking
gosh.
I mean, I guess you could if you were really inclined to add some fiber to
You
your
might
diet.
eat
That's
some
not what
while
they
you're
had in
using
mind.
the real fiber. But
Goodness.
I don't know if you know the dynamic here, but Shelby is the very talented artist, and I'm the very not talented
Oh, Pisha.
art appreciator who doesn't. I'm not an artist.
Shoes
so
on the other foot today, though.
we will get to that as well.
'Kay.
We're teasing.
We're teasing.
We may have a big reveal later.
Dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, so you do crochet mostly.
Yes, mostly crochet, a little bit of knitting, and some embroidery. I've had a history of doing like cross stitch and stuff. Had a history.
In my
I have a
past.
history of doing cross stitch.
My very dark past of cross stitch.
But yes, mostly crochet.
Is there a reason why crochet is? Well, I don't want to assume it's your favorite, but
Oh, it sure
Would it be
is.
safe to
You
say?
can assume. You
Yeah.
can definitely assume. It is safe to say it is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's just because it's what I've been doing the longest.
Mm-hmm.
I picked it up when I was 12.
wow.
So that was a long time ago now, longer now than it seems. But for a long time too, I was kind of against learning knitting because I was so gung-ho about crochet. And I think it was my brother that kind of pushed me into it because he wanted to learn how to knit because I wanted to teach him how to crochet. And of course not. No, he had to do something different. So he kind of introduced me to knitting that way. And it's a different end result that you get when you knit. It's a lot stretchier, so it's a lot better for clothing.
Yeah.
So it's great for like socks and stuff. They stretch a lot better than if you were to crochet them. So that was a good holiday season for family and friends when I learned how to knit and I was making everyone socks.
Everyone was.
You get a
you
pair
do.
of socks.
You get a pair
of
and you
socks.
get a pair.
Socks for everyone.
Well, typically on our show, I'm the one that's asking questions because I don't know the answers to them. But like Shelby alluded to, the shoe is on the other foot because I'm a crocheter.
You're a
I'm a
crocheter?
crocheter. I bought
Oh.
my bag of tricks with me
Oh,
today
blessed
to
day.
show off. Mostly hats
yes.
and stuff.
Oh, this is exciting.
But yeah, so that is the big reveal.
My people.
I crochet and knit. I prefer crochet though.
Yeah. So what do you prefer about crochet then? Like what?
It's easier.
It is easier.
It's so
I
much
totally
easier.
agree that it's easier because with knitting, and here's the key, folks, because if you've ever been crocheting in public, you've probably gotten the question, hey, what are you knitting?
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
And as a crocheter
Yeah.
and a knitter, you know it's a completely different game.
yeah. And people
And-
compliment your knit hat.
Right,
and I say
exactly.
it's
And
not
I
knit.
totally get it
Yeah.
because I think knitting is more prevalent in like pop culture. So you see it more in movies and TV shows. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the touchstone that people have.
It's sexier.
Don't you know about that?
Yeah,
Well,
Well, I don't
Or
know
the
if you could-
needles and ooh, that's much cooler than a hook.
It's-
I
Right,
guess.
Jamie
more
Lee Curtis
dynamic.
didn't
Yes.
use a crochet hook to stab Michael Myers in the
Yeah.
neck, so you
True.
know what I'm saying. So
Yeah, it's not
it's
as
more
iconic.
prevalent in pop culture, I think. So people just immediately assume when they see yarn being turned into something, obviously it's knit.
Knit.
Anyway, that's a tangent.
we are on the same page here.
Yes,
I
But
do.
it's crochet,
Yeah.
and the trick to discerning one from the other is if you see 2 or more pointed sticks, that's knitting.
Good point.
But if you see one stick and it has a hook on the end, that's crochet.
Right.
Yes.
There are exceptions, I'm sure.
I'm sure, yes. I'm sure that's a broad
Double-ended
Someone-
needles.
Yeah.
for
Someone has probably
knitting.
created a hybrid of the two and just.
Tunisian.
I was going to say, I think that's a thing.
crochet. It
Well,
is.
hot diggity dang. That is cool. Didn't know about that.
So we need to educate Shelby.
Oh,
section
yes,
today.
It's still one hook though.
Yeah.
Or it's
Okay.
it's really long.
But it's really
usually.
long.
Yeah,
I
it's
used to
like a
have
knitting
one.
needle, except it does have that hook on the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't know how to use it, but I used to have one.
I've tried a couple of times. Still haven't really gotten into the groove of Tunisian. My mom's really into it right now, though. She's learning everything. She's just knocking out skill after skill. She's just.
Go for it, Mom.
I'm like, dang, go girl.
But I only have experience in kind of like I always word it as like a free form embroidery. I just keep looping stuff into a shape that I draw onto some fabric. So I know nothing. I used to a long time ago make scarves, and that's the easiest little thing you just pump out.
Oh, I hate scarves. I
You're
hate making scarves.
You're not a scarf
Is it
person?
monotonous?
It's
for you?
monotonous.
Yeah.
and that's why I'm a hat guy. I'm at the point now in my life where I can admit that like I have grown stagnant with my crocheting, and I just like crocheting hats.
That's okay.
Hats are, it's one of those like instant gratification projects too, where you can crank one out in maybe a couple of
Yeah.
hours and you can do it while you're watching a TV show or something. And it's just that muscle memory of making something and it's just relaxing.
That's exactly what I do.
It's that zen.
Yeah, pop a podcast on 100%. I do it more for me than for the end result.
Exactly.
And then every Christmas, I end up with like 50 hats that I made throughout the year, and I'm like, guess what everybody's getting?
You get a hat. You get a hat.
free therapy,
Yeah.
man. You
Just doing
just
it.
Yeah.
making stuff.
I just got to get the yarn.
Yeah.
So what got you into crocheting and everything like that, or just maybe fiber arts in general? Like,
It was crocheting that definitely caught my eye. I've always been, from a young age, really inclined to making things with my hands and doing crafts. So, like, I would do friendship bracelets and like little paper crafts with little paper punchers and glue and just all sorts of those projects that you used to find in like a highlights magazine.
Yeah.
And I just loved making things. And I was 12 years old when I was at a Joann Fabrics, and I ran across this project book that was definitely geared towards my demographic. It was a lot of like brightly colored, exciting projects. It wasn't like granny squares and
Right.
scarves and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like CD holders and all these exciting like keychain accessories, and I was immediately drawn to it. And I walked out of that Joann Fabrics with that and my first 2 skeins of yarn and my first crochet hook. And I decided to teach myself because the book was called Teach Me to Crochet. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I think this looks really fun. And so it didn't click right away either because I was teaching myself from like still pictures because
Oh.
not to date myself or anything, but this was before YouTube.
Wow.
So it was before YouTube, still images. And so it was a little more difficult to tell when my projects weren't turning out what the pictures
Yeah.
looked like. I wasn't really understanding what I was doing differently
Right.
because it was still pictures. And so I got frustrated with it. I couldn't figure out what I was doing differently. And I actually shelved it for about a year. And I was like, no more of that, whatever. And then it literally happened like this. I woke up one morning and I was like, hey, wait a minute. I think I know what I was doing that I could have done differently that would have been what it wanted me to do, like what the instructions were telling me. I think I
Yeah.
finally figured it out. And so it clicked.
Yeah,
And
no-
I pulled it back out and it turns out that's exactly what it was. And I just haven't put it back since. Like I just
wow.
been trucking ever since.
And when did you get into your process? I can never say it.
Amigurumi.
Yes, amigurumi. When did you kind of fall into that? Because I love your little guys. Like whatever you create, they just look so cuddly and squishy and soft. So when did you get into that technique?
Well, I mean, the original thing that drew me to crochet was that project book full of like exciting projects that weren't just like things that I could wear. It was there were a couple of stuffed animals I think in there, and as like a 12, 13-year-old girl, that's kind of what I wanted to do, was to make like really cute stuffed animals. And I don't know, that's just what I think it's because I grew up with Toy Story, and like,
Yeah.
it's just like the idea of making toys and that whole world. But I was always drawn to the plushies and the soft toys and the stuff like that. And as a 13-year-old girl, I thought I was like relegated to free patterns too. So like when my ideas surpassed what I could find as a free pattern on the internet, like I had extremely specific ideas eventually of what I wanted to make, and I just wasn't finding the free pattern that could meet that. I realized there wasn't really anything stopping me from trying to design that myself. So that's when I started designing my own patterns. And the first thing that I made was on a family road trip. I was in the back seat and I was just tinkering around, and I ended up making like a little parakeet that had loops for feet so that I could have it like slide and perch on my finger.
Like a little ring.
Yeah, like a little ring, and it was a pretty decent parakeet size. And I ended up posting it on a crochet forum that I was a member of at the time, and the response was really great. Like, people were very encouraging, and they wanted to make one as well. So that kind of took me into learning how to write down the pattern so that people could recreate what I made. And then shortly after that, I opened up my Etsy shop.
Well, dang.
And the rest is history.
And she's still creating to this day.
Still going.
But yeah, I always love your process. Being alongside you in college and everything, your work always stood out because no one really did fiber arts in college. And I
Yeah, that
thought
was something that
weird.
I noticed when we were doing the initial tours for the art program. I think there had been a fiber arts class, but it had been retired, so that was just missing from the entire
curriculum of
curriculum.
everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I kind of felt like I was bringing it back in a way. So that was fun.
Yeah, definitely. And your senior show was, I'd say, pretty stunning and
Amazing.
yeah,
is
like
the word.
it's stunning. Because I remember seeing it in person, and you just want to touch it.
Yeah, exactly.
and cuddle with them, even though they're kind of just floating heads.
Yeah, exactly. There's something that's a little bit grotesque about it,
Yeah.
but also they're kind of approachable because they're soft sculpture.
Exactly.
So yeah, it kind of walks that line.
I was looking through earlier, and I just could not believe what I was seeing. Like, I spent like a good minute being like, how did she do the eyes? Like, how did it go? And then it's the thing,
And then the nose.
and the ear,
Yeah.
the ear.
I always considered myself kind of like a 3D printer in crochet,
Yeah.
in a way, because I'm just able to conceptualize the 3D shape in my mind and figure out how to create that in yarn. And it's like a process of a lot of doodles to try to figure out kind of what angle I want to come in at. Like, do I want to start from the top of the head and work down, or do I want to start from the nose and work back, or do I want to start from the chin? It's like trying to figure out what the best approach is, and then just going for it.
If the people listening at home haven't picked up from context clues, your project was heads.
It was heads.
Busts, would
human,
you say?
Yeah, I say busts because saying that it was 5 human heads just kind of sounds like an episode of Hannibal. So
Yeah. a little gruesome.
But they're incredible, and you crocheted them and designed them yourself.
they were kind of freeform. So that's something that I like to use my skills for as well, not just the cutesy, which I love making those anyway, but the cutesy stuff that I have patterns for in my shop that kind of anybody can create. I also enjoy using those crochet structure building, sculpting skills to do more freeform objects that aren't like easily recreatable because I don't even know what I did, but it worked. So
It totally works. And that was one of the things I was going to say about crochet over knitting earlier. Is I feel like crochet is more adaptable in like you can really make almost anything you can think of.
I agree. And with that hook element to the tool, I feel like there's so much more control that you have, and like you can double back and you can go on top of a flat piece, and you just do anything.
Endless opportunities.
Anything, yeah.
It's the original 3D printer. Is the crochet hook.
Totally. That is exactly.
And I remember the professors asking you a lot of like, how'd you do that? And you're just like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're
I just did.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. So
Wouldn't you like to know?
Only if I wrote it down. That'd be nice.
Well, you mentioned your parakeet. You said that was the first thing that you did like without a pattern, basically.
Yeah, that was my first design.
Yeah.
Design.
Original design.
So that got you started with designing. Where did it go from there? Like, did you start writing patterns right away, or?
Yeah. So that one was the first and only pattern in my Etsy shop for a while. And then, as anybody who has started an Etsy shop probably can relate to, it took a while to get my first sale, and it takes a lot of kind of putting yourself out there on different social media platforms, and just, obviously people need to see your work.
Selling yourself.
I used to have an Etsy shop. That's a reveal. It's still probably out there. I don't know if I ever shut it down.
I didn't know this about you, Jake.
It's called Jake Makes Hats.
Oh my gosh, I
I
love
think
it.
that's what I call. Was it Jake Makes Stuff? I don't know. I might have changed it to be more open.
I changed my shop name.
Yeah?
I did not open as Little Raven Fiber Arts.
Oh,
I remember you kind of jumped around, and then you took your graphic design class, and you're like, I'm nailing this down.
Yeah,
I'm getting my branding.
I kind of used the classes as an excuse to do my own branding. Yeah.
You're just like, gotta get this shit
I was
straight.
like, well, there's an opportunity here, so let's take it.
yeah.
where did the name come from?
Little Raven Fiber Arts. Little Raven comes from I believe the Gaelic meaning of my name, Brenna.
Oh, okay.
I believe it means Little Raven. And then Fiber Arts is just a more, I don't know, not all-encompassing term
General
for,
term.
so it allows knit and other like weaving and all these different arts with fiber. So I'm not just pigeonholing myself into crochet if I wanted to branch out, because the original name, drumroll please, was Nuts About Crochet 13.
Oh no.
Nuts About Crochet 13.
I love that. It's
All,
very.
the first 12 were taken?
It's because I was 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The first 12 were taken. Yeah.
Everybody knows Nuts About Crochet 6 is like the best of the Nuts About
I mean,
Crochet.
1 through 6 are clearly superior.
But I love that because even now, if you had that, it would just be like this throwback of young internet culture. And
I mean, some of my older patterns that are still listed in my shop, they do still have that name on them. So for anybody who buys a more vintage pattern from Little Raven Fiber Arts and they see that it says it's an original pattern by Nuts About Crochet 13, congratulations, that's an Easter egg.
a piece of history right there.
Go hunting for that.
So yeah, get on over to the Etsy shop right now. Take a peek.
Take a little look-see, take a little walk.
Yeah. So where would you say you draw your inspiration from?
Gosh, where don't I draw inspiration from?
You make a lot of stuff.
I
so-
make a lot of stuff, and like sometimes it's overwhelming, the inspiration that just comes from all the corners. I'll be watching a TV show and I'll see something maybe in the background and I'll be like, I have to make that now. And like I can be like, it's movies, TV shows, toy catalogs around the holiday season, definitely Pinterest. Sometimes I'll run across a doodle done by an artist and I'm like, well, I have to try to make that. So it's just everywhere. Even sometimes color palettes will trigger something as well, like just going through Pinterest and finding those really nice color palettes that people put together, and I'm just like, well, those colors would look great as this.
Gotta go find the yarn now.
I go do that.
And even your customers, I know a lot, will provide, like, if, at markets and stuff, just like, oh, what if I had this, but, like, in blue? And you're like, okay.
Or they'll have completely new ideas. Like, they'll ask me if I've ever done maybe a goat or some other animal that I haven't done yet. And I go, I have not, but that is a good idea. I should look into that.
Check back in a couple months.
I'm on Google looking up images, doing my research.
Crocheted goat.
I try to avoid doing that though, because if I see that it's been done 500,000 times,
Yeah.
I don't want to. I usually just it stops there because I'm like, well, it's been done.
Yeah, you want to.
Even though when I do it, it'll be different.
Yeah.
Like I know it's been done 1,000 times, but I haven't done it yet. So that's something that's
Right.
kind of been an obstacle in my crochet artistry in the past. Is I used to feel like if the idea wasn't completely original, that I shouldn't even bother.
Oh,
But
okay.
that is not the case.
I mean,
And all you artists out there,
Right.
hear me now.
yes.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter if it's been done before. You haven't done it, so do it.
And you might do it better.
Exactly.
You might have a leopard holding a bag of Cheetos or something. I don't know. I was trying to think of
Definitely
like
never been done before.
Yeah, totally.
cheetah. He's not a leopard. He's a cheetah. Chester
Yeah,
cheetah.
I was about to say a leopard.
See, that's the original though. Is that he's not a leopard? He's a cheetah. So now,
Yes.
there
There
you
you
go.
go.
Making it our own.
There's your niche.
Yes.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna be one of those customers that influences you. I would love to see a series of crocheted taxidermy, like
Yes.
skeletons and stuff, or like mounted butterfly style stuff, or
So you've hit on one of my goals or aspirations. Is from my senior show.
yes.
It was the 5 heads, but they were all interconnected by this giant anatomical heart as well, like a human heart, which there's the grotesque element as well. But ever since then, I've thought, why haven't I done something to continue that theme? Because I think the heart was the most interesting part of the show, or at least I saw a lot of people who were drawn to that part of the display. And taxidermy, humanoid figures.
Just like a
That-
person with antlers or something. Just get like
A Wendigo.
Yeah, like just. I would love to see kind of like a creepy, macabre little detour.
I have
It's
had that come up before where people are like, you have a lot of cute stuff, but like, what if it was creepy?
just, yeah. What if you made it creepy?
And I've tried creepy before. It always ends up cute.
Oh.
Although this is getting there. That senior show is
Yeah.
starting to get into that macabre, creepy.
Yeah. The heart is amazing.
Thank you.
I didn't want to, because I read your write up about it, and you said about how the heart was kind of the most popular. It stole the show,
Yeah,
maybe a
and it
little
was
bit.
kind of a last minute addition that I was like, well, how am I going to kind of
Yeah.
bring them all together in a way and more unify this whole art piece so that they feel more connected? And then I was like, oh, obviously we're gonna do this.
And oh my god, I have a hard time believing that's a last minute thing you just kind of
It
threw
was a
together,
last
because it is
minute thing.
intricate, like,
That
and the
was-
vein. Oh my god.
I never pulled all-nighters except for when I was crocheting.
Yeah, I remember you had it like half done, and you brought it to ceramics at one point because you're just like, I'm just trying to finish this whenever, wherever I
Done.
can.
I don't care about the mud.
Yeah, you know what? I just need it done.
I know it was a 3-month deadline, I think, from
Yeah.
when I started making those to
Oh,
when
wow.
the show opened.
Yeah.
So I was definitely on a tight deadline, and there was little room for backtracking and trying to be a perfectionist, which was a good thing because that is another thing that I've struggled with in my career is perfectionism.
Right.
I
It doesn't
understand.
have to be perfect. Just do it.
Make it.
Just
create
try it. Just
Close
do
enough.
it. Yeah.
And with senior shows and everything, a lot of people don't know. There's like, for the whole semester and everything, a good chunk of it is just figuring out what the heck you're gonna do.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got whatever time left to go do it. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure, and like you have to talk over your idea with multiple people
And defend your idea.
Yeah.
Because you have an idea and the professors are like, but what if you did something like this? And you're like, but I like this idea.
I
And you're
wanna
like,
do-
let's think realistically. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, I want to do this big grand thing.
Listen,
that
I
is
want to
hard
do 5 giant crocheted heads. And they're like, listen, you have 3 months.
Yeah. well, I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna
I'm
look
gonna
beautiful.
do it. I'll show you all.
So
Surprisingly, that's not that different from my senior year of college experience. I don't know if Brenna knows, but I'm a meteorologist. I have a degree in
Nice,
meteorology, so
nice.
science, not art. But we have to do a senior project as well, and spent most of the time figuring out what we were going to do, and then the professor saying, "No, you shouldn't do that."
dang it.
And me saying, "But
Dang
it's
it.
my passion to investigate tropospheric warming in the northeastern United States and how it impacts precipitation type."
How dare you crush my dream?
I ended up doing it anyway.
Heck yes.
Well, good for you.
It was a nightmare. I
it's
shouldn't
a
have
bit
done
of a
it.
test. I think it's a bit of a test when the professors do that, though, because they're
Yeah.
trying to see if you're serious and passionate about it.
Right.
And
Yes.
if you are, you're going to say, screw it, I'm going to do it anyway. And if you're not,
That's
then
totally
you're going
what
to
I
be
did.
swayed really easily.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I did. I was like, I even took the summer beforehand. I was like, I am so passionate. I knew what I was going to do that I pre-stretched my own handmade screens, and I was like, I'm already here. You're not telling me anything different. So trust me, I was crazy when it came to my senior show.
It was
But-
really good.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Enough about me. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
And we are back from our break.
Yeah.
Gonna talk some more crochet, some more art, some more talented individual.
Yes. Yes. I know how to talk.
That is words.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
Brenna, it can be kind of hard to start something, right? You need motivation. So what do you think is like a motivation? What are some motivations for you to create?
I think at this point, it's just the fact that it centers me. Like it's that Zen that I go into because it's something that I've been doing consistently for almost 2 decades now. Good golly, don't
Wow.
think about that. That it's just it's the familiarity, it's that muscle memory, it's not sitting idle. You're making something. It's that creation
Yeah.
that I always love to sit down and just start planning and tinkering and making something. So I think that's in large part the motivation is that I'm just like, I gotta make something, man. I can't just sit here and do nothing.
Sometimes starting is the easy part.
Yeah.
And so maybe the better question would have been, what's your motivation to finish a creation?
yes.
Oh, yeah, that one's more difficult,
Yeah.
especially if things are not going as planned, where I have these grand ideas and I think that I'm going to be able to accomplish them, and then things take a left turn or a right turn, whichever way you want
A
to
U-turn?
go. A U-turn. And end up in the water, I guess. And it's just not something that... And sometimes I've picked those projects back up later and tried again or just kept going with them, because sometimes it's just you can't see the finished item when you're in the middle of making it. Sometimes it's difficult to see it, but you just gotta believe and keep going.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know, motivation to finish it is for bigger projects. It's a little more difficult. For the smaller projects, it's a little easier because it's just like that instant gratification thing where it doesn't take that long to make something, and then I've made something and then I feel accomplished.
Yeah.
But when it's a bigger project and there are more steps to see it through to completion, I guess it depends on like how badly I want to see it finished. Like
Yeah.
how enamored am I with this finished result that I see in my head, and is it close enough to what I'm seeing on my hook that I think that I can continue with it?
Can I devote the time to see this done?
Am I just wasting effort here? Am I going to end up hating it and just tearing it out later? I don't know. Sometimes that happens, and you just got to let it happen sometimes.
And sometimes you got to put projects on pause, come back with more tools in your tool chest, and you can
Well,
approach
sometimes
it
you
differently.
gotta run before you can walk. Sometimes you gotta fail before you can succeed. I don't know. There's all sorts of phrases where I've been letting that happen more and more frequently, where a project starts to go off the rails and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. But instead of getting frustrated and completely destroying it and starting fresh, I'll kind of stop there. And it still exists, and I can take what I learned from that and build on it. So most recently with the skulls that I did, which is an extremely recent design,
They're so cute.
that one had, I think, 5 iterations before I finally got to that design that I was really happy with, that I was like, all right, this is it. This is the one.
Yeah.
So I call them prototypes now. They're not failures. They're
Aw.
prototypes.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And that must have been hard making the eye sockets and all that
Yep.
jazz.
So the
Oh my
first one
goodness.
did not have eye sockets.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just building the basic shape, and then when I had that shape, I was looking at it and I kind of used yarn to embroider the shape of the eye sockets so I could see exactly where I wanted those sockets to be cut out, as it were. And that made it super easy to go back with the next prototype to figure out how to make those sockets. So it's actually really valuable to make a couple of them before you have that finished project, so that it's all these different.
Oh.
You're building on it until you get to something that's like, this is it.
Aw. And it's a positive way to look at it. You're building on what you know and just kind of going forward.
You're
So
learning.
if anybody needs a
Good.
human skull crocheted, you got your person right here. 'Cause-
Well, I don't know about human skull, but
well.
cute little
I
chibi
mean,
skull.
we were talking about
Taxidermy.
aspirations earlier with the taxidermy.
Oh, I'd love that.
Taxidermy. I've wanted to do skeletal structures as well. I've wanted to do like a real anatomically correct human skull. I've wanted to do a giant rib cage where I can put that giant heart and
That'd be
then
really cool.
build that out, and then just have like a big old rib cage
I
on the
can
wall.
picture it.
Ooh, things I want to do.
Cool. Well, we can get into that. If time and money were no object, what would your dream project be?
Well, there we go. And hand paint. If time, money, and hand
And,
paint.
oh, God, the struggle is real.
Arthritis
My
wasn't a
goodness.
thing.
I swear, I've started wearing compression gloves because
It's a good tip.
Yeah, that was something that I learned at the art market. Actually, the person in the tent next to me was like, "Have you tried compression gloves? It's got like copper infused compression
Ooh.
gloves that can really help with hand pain." And I went,
Oh,
"You're right. You're absolutely right. I'll look into that."
I need to pick
And they've
that up.
actually been helping. So, pro tip.
Gotcha.
Note
I
to
have
self.
ergonomic crochet hooks that are a little bit bulkier in the hand and allow me to stitch for a little bit longer. And now I have compression gloves to try to prevent early arthritis,
Aw.
because goodness gracious, it sure does take a toll on your hands after a while.
It
But
really does.
that was a tangent.
Yeah, that's fine.
If that was no object, then I don't know. I have this dream that I've had since we went to Italy,
Oh, gotcha.
where I was like, well, I've done these human faces, but what if I were to recreate
A Renaissance.
the David,
Oh,
all 17 feet of him?
And you were obsessed with his butt. You were taking
I mean,
booty pics
there
left
were
and right.
benches on that side of the statue. I was a place to sit. And a lovely view, I might add.
Yes. That was the big check off the list for you. I know. It was just like I
It
gotta
was-
see it in person.
It was fantastic.
it's 17 feet tall.
He's 17 feet
Yep.
tall. He is 17 feet tall, and
caked up.
yeah. I mean, you know that he's tall. You hear about that.
Yeah.
But it's like the Mona Lisa, but the opposite direction, where you hear that she's small, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
until you're standing in front of her and going, she's a postage stamp, that
Yeah.
you really realize the scale. So it's not
I would have guessed
until-
like 10 feet or something.
exactly,
Man.
because you see high res images online and you think that it's larger than life. But it's the same thing with the David, where when you first see him, or at least when we walked in, we were at the end of a hall, or he was at the end of the hall. We were walking in with a bunch of tourists, and so he seemed smaller. And then you get closer and closer and closer. You're like, wow, he is very tall. He is just enormous.
boy.
He is a tall boy,
Yes.
very big. And then I think there are some, there's some proportion magic that
Yeah.
he did because of the scale
Oh.
of. So I think his head is really, really large
Oh.
because you're so far down on the ground that
Right.
like viewing him from human stature and not 17 feet tall, it looks more correctly proportioned. But because of that, since his head is so much bigger than the rest of his body, and then he's got like the really large hands too, I feel like it would be possible to recreate that in crochet. And that's just something that I think would be hilarious.
Well, you got the head part down.
Yeah, I got the head part down, and that's another thing. Like, he's marble,
And the curly
And
hair.
Oh, the curly
He's
hair.
got that
Yeah.
curly.
Well, with
I've
crochet,
done
you could
curly
do that.
hair.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say
Oh,
it's
yeah.
almost easier. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
you
like
have.
that's just a lot of white yarn.
Yeah,
A lot of white
Some
yarn.
gray, get that shadow.
True.
going, so-
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see you doing it. You'll
Someday.
get there.
You need like an army of crocheters to like.
That's the thing, though. I don't trust anyone else.
Oh.
Has to be. I
Only
have to have
I.
complete artistic control of the project.
Ah.
It's been a downfall. I don't know.
You can. I mean, it's the David.
It's the David. Exactly.
Only Brenna can do the David.
Only the original sculptor,
Yeah.
Michelangelo, correct?
Yes.
I better not get that wrong. I was an art student.
Yeah, we were.
Michelangelo.
I'm allowed to get that wrong.
Michelangelo and Brenna. Only us. Only we.
Only they can make the David.
The
But
soft
mine
David.
will be soft. Yes. Oh, goodness. Mine will be soft, squishy, and huggable.
For centuries, people have looked upon it and said, "But what if he was soft?"
But what if I could hug him? And he wasn't cold
Cold
and
hug.
malleable.
Oh goodness. While we're having fun cracking jokes
Yes, this
and
is the
everything.
funny
Oh,
segment
it's not
of
a
the
joke.
show.
Yes.
Oh, someday.
We're very serious. I'm gonna make a sculptable or a huggable version of the David. So I
It's
love
coming.
those dreams and aspirations. You can achieve them. You can do them.
Keep your eyes on that Etsy.
Yes.
I don't think it'll be for sale.
Maybe there'll be a pattern. Ooh.
Maybe.
Oh my goodness,
Quite
can
a
you
pattern.
imagine?
Gosh. But
I need to dedicate 5 years to this pattern. I'm not kidding.
yes, you got to set aside some serious time to
This
do
is not a pattern, it's a commitment, y'all.
So what is your funniest comment that you've ever heard about your art, or like a common question or a funny story, kind of funny haha moments about your
haha.
art? Yeah.
So I think the most common or the funniest, I guess in retrospect it's funny. When I was a teenager, this happened a lot. Whenever I was crocheting in a public setting, so like I'd be on a friend's porch or, at the county fair, and I was working on a project, the comment that I got so frequently was comments about how I was a grandma. Because that's the
Right.
association is, crochet is for grandmothers.
Yeah.
But why?
Exactly. And I think now with social media and I've seen this explosion of people in our demographic, like millennials and Gen Z and just guys, gals, non-binary pals, just everyone is coming at this art form and it's really exciting to see that I've seen a lot of people kind of build their brand around that whole, it's not your grandma's crochet or not your nana's crochet or whatever, kind of reclaiming it from that. I don't think it's a stigma, but that connotation that it's
Right.
for old people. And I've seen a lot more of the younger generation who are really using this art form and doing some really neat stuff with it. So it's really exciting to see.
Oh yay!
100% agree. When I first started, I was the only man I knew, only boy I knew that did crocheting.
Yeah.
I was in high school, so, but yeah, and now it's all over.
There's just
All different kinds.
walks, all
Yeah.
different kinds. It doesn't matter who you are. If you've got a hook and yarn, you can make something. It's fantastic, and it's so much more approachable now, I think, because more people are enjoying it and, like I said, doing more with it, not just making hats and scarves and clothing and just
been
the things that
taken-
you commonly think of when you think knit or crochet is like wearables and stuff. But I've seen a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
Has to.
it's taking it more seriously as an art form too. I with social media and everything, and branching out to these crazy concepts like with your heads and your hearts and stuff like that. Like that's a different world than what people expect to see with crochet and everything and fiber art. So it's being taken more seriously, which I
Yeah.
love seeing
Soft
that.
sculpture. I kind of think of it like yarn Legos in a way.
Yeah.
The way that you can build
See.
structures with
Yeah.
each stitch is like a 1x1 block, and you can build these
Yeah.
3D cool things with the stitches.
It's like pixel art.
Exactly. Yeah. 3D
Definitely.
printing, Legos. all these metaphors.
You know what? Just try it yourself. You'll understand.
You'll understand. I hope you'll understand. Please join us.
Yes.
Please join the army.
I have a spare hook you can have. It's not ergonomic though. It's seen better days.
Yeah. Didn't you work with like a whole line of crochet needles?
I
at some
did. I
point?
used to work with Furls Crochet, and their entire brand is more ergonomic or luxury crochet hooks. That the hook handle is it's bulkier. It's not just that thin metal piece in your hand, and it prevents more of that hand strain. So that you can crochet for longer without really starting to feel that in your joints. And they've been around for a while, but I'm really starting to see an explosion of those ergonomic hooks with other companies now as well, which is really exciting to see that niche being filled now. Because I think it's really important that we take care of our hands, because like that's our creator tools. Those are our ultimate creator tools, and if we're doing them damage by repetitive stress, then that ain't good. So it's really good to see more ergonomic options on the market, and I've been seeing them at like Michael's and Joann a lot more frequently now, and really good options.
Well, yay. We like everybody to join in whatever art form it is. So the fact that there are some companies that are starting to do that, we love to see that. So everyone could participate.
Absolutely. So we've talked a lot about, we talked about your skulls isn't the right term. Heads?
Yeah.
The
Heads.
Your heads.
The
That's
busts, the heads,
Yeah.
the pre-Davids,
Davids.
the prototype Davids.
Yes, prototype David.
Amazing projects you've done. So what are some of your other favorite projects or accomplishments that you've had with crochet?
My favorite, I think, two that I'm really proud of. Like I'm proud of everything that I make, but these are very fun. When I was 15, and I was a bit of a fangirl, an Iron Man fangirl.
Oh.
Ooh.
I crocheted an Academy Award, and I sent it to Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love this story.
You sent it? You mailed it to
I
them.
mailed it to him. Yeah, me and my family and I, Grammar, contacted his publicist because I didn't want to just have it sent through the mail to a fan mail address
Right.
and then it's not
Yeah.
a
just
real
sitting there.
address or it just gets lost. Because I had put a lot of time and effort into making like an Academy Award and Oscar statue. I made an Oscar statue.
Yeah.
And
That's a human figure too.
it's
so
another human figure.
Wow.
It's my destiny at this
Yeah.
point. They're just gradually getting bigger. So we go from the statue that's about, 8 inches tall? I don't
Yeah,
remember
roughly.
how tall they really are. I did a little research before I attempted it. It was taller than 8 inches tall, the one that I created.
Because I would imagine getting it that small is hard.
Yeah,
So
for my skill set at the time
I was
as
gonna
well.
say this is like 2 years into your crocheting.
Yeah, so maybe that's something I should come back to and
Yeah.
see if I can do it better.
hey, Robert Downey Jr.
That whole prototype idea.
Woohoo.
Did he get it?
He did. I thought it got lost in the mail, but because I had delivery confirmation on it, I never got the delivery confirmation. So I was like, well, that's it. It got lost in the mail. The thing that I didn't want to have happen, like I
Right.
contacted his publicist so that we could send it to her and she could get it to him, and it still got lost in the mail. But a couple months later, I got pictures in the mail of him holding the Oscar. So that was proof that he got it. And my tiny mind exploded.
That's amazing.
That was very special. So thank you, Robert. That holds a very special place in my heart to this day.
No.
And thank you for listening to our podcast.
Yes,
Robert
thank
Downey
you,
Jr.
Robert Downey Jr., for listening to this podcast. It means a lot.
Yeah,
Your support.
you're a valued listener.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So, was the idea that did he win an Oscar?
He was nominated for a comedy that he did. It was
Okay.
the same year that Heath Ledger was nominated for his Joker.
Oh.
And obviously Heath Ledger
Yeah.
won for his Joker, as he rightfully should have.
Okay.
And But, little fangirl me was
Yeah.
like, but Robert should have one too. I think he should have one too.
Yes,
And
I will make him win.
I was like, I will take this into my own hands, and I will make him one, and I will find a way to get it to him.
Where's the gold yarn?
Exactly. And I did it, and I sent it, and he sent me pictures back, and it was incredible.
Oh, that's amazing.
I did not think in a million years, but again, thank you, Robert, valued listener. Another project that I'm extremely proud of, it was a more recent project that I got to do. I got to send some of my work to Pixar Animation Studios.
Ooh.
They have a series that I don't know if they're still continuing it, but it was called Spark Shorts. They had a bunch of short animated films that they had little groups in the studios making. And there was one in particular that was called Kit Bowl. And I watched that one, and the character design was just begging
It was.
to be recreated in crochet. It was just screaming at me, and as soon as I finished watching the video and dried my eyes because it's beautiful, please
Aw.
watch it if you haven't,
Yeah, it's really sweet.
I broke out my yarn and hooks, and I was doodling and taking screenshots and doing that whole planning, trying to figure out how I could recreate that kitten character. And I put that together quite quickly. I don't
You
know.
did.
I had to. I was like, I have to hug this immediately.
The short came out, and I was just like, "Oh, that's cute." And I saw you posting about it, and then it was like not even a week later, you're like, "I made this thing based off of it." I was like, "Brenna,
It's
Brenna."
because it made me feel things, and I needed
Yes.
I needed to hold this kitten because my God. But yeah, so I made it, and I posted pictures, and then I got, I believe, a DM through Instagram, and it was the director of the Kit Bowl short, and she said, "This is fantastic. Would you make one for us?" And I went, is that even a question? Of course, yes. This is a dream come true. I can't believe Pixar has reached out to me. Again, with that Toy Story connotation. Like, I grew up with Toy Story.
Yeah.
Toy Story was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. Toy Story 2 was the first movie my brother ever saw in theaters. It's always been a part of my life. I've always loved that series. I've loved that concept. It's kind of creepy.
No.
that
That's not creepy.
Toys are alive
Oh,
when
that's.
you're...
I thought you meant like the amount that you love it.
No. Toys are alive when you're not looking.
That is creepy.
That's a little creepy, but I love that series. It's always been very special to me in my adolescence and even adulthood. But that connection with Pixar, then that small connection that I got to send some of my work to Pixar Animation Studios, and then they did send me a picture back of the little kitten standing
cool.
on the big
bouncy ball.
the big bouncy ball outside of the studios. I think it's outside of the cafeteria.
I think, yeah, but
I think
it's so
so.
cute.
I watch a lot of behind the scenes.
I know.
You're like, is
I
it
think
there?
it's right outside the cafeteria.
You're like scanning the like shelves of like people's offices and like,
Is she there? Is she there? But yeah, again, thank you to the director of Kit Bowl, for valued listener, for
Yes, yes.
for your support and for reaching out. That was another mind-blowing opportunity that was very exciting. So thank you. It's just bragging rights.
Aw,
it's definitely bragging rights.
definitely. That's big accomplishment. Big accomplishments right there. So.
Well, I mean, it's all leading up to the David.
Yep.
It all comes back to the David.
You got a lot of pressure on you now.
Yeah.
It's out there for
I
the
was
world
going to
to
say,
know.
well, I put it out there, so now I have to follow through. Right?
Because somebody else could be like, I'm doing that.
Strike it from the record.
Oh no.
You've heard
Gosh,
nothing.
We might have to cut this.
Censor it.
There's no
Nobody
second half
else.
of the episode.
No. Well, it's what I said earlier. Just
All
because
the-
it's been done before
Exactly.
doesn't mean that I can't do it.
It's your David.
So y'all just go for it. Just do it. It's your David.
You do you.
Your happy little David.
Aw. I mean, again, you had your prototype with the Oscar little man. And
You got the little man, and then you got the heads that are quite a bit larger. They're larger than my own head,
Yeah, they're big.
so they're pretty big. And then the David, who knows what that scale is?
Oh yeah, goodness. And I remember you did like a little photo shoot with the heads. I remember. remember that too. It's just surrounding yourself with the heads like, yes,
These are my children.
those are my babies.
These are my fiber children. Don't talk to me or my 5 heads ever again.
Did you name them?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Let's
if
see
you
I
could
can-
go down the row,
Let's see.
who is who?
I think
Tell us about your children.
This is Nala.
Mhm.
I think that is Oswin. That one's Nikita.
Mhm.
That one, not remembering hers. And then the one on the end is Seneca. I don't know why I'm not remembering one of their names.
Not the red.
We won't tell her. That
Yeah.
She was forgotten.
Oh no.
Yes, they all had names.
Aw,
That's
well,
awesome.
yay. And we will definitely post pictures on our social media so you can
Oh yeah.
see all the babies, and see them all and witness them because they're really cool. So where can people find you?
You can find me on Etsy and Ravelry for my patterns. So that's Little Raven Fiber Arts on Etsy, and I believe it's Little Raven Fiber on Ravelry, and Little Raven Fiber Arts on Instagram. Also on Tumblr, I have a Tumblr blog, and then on TikTok.
Gotcha. And you will be at the August art market.
I
so
will be planning on August, September, and October.
Got it for the rest of the season, as you've
Heck
heard.
yes.
This weekend.
Yes, it's this weekend, guys.
We did our calendar math correctly.
Yes.
Come on down. I won't have the David,
Oh.
but
Well, I mean, we are recording this in advance.
maybe I'll have one curl for atop his head.
You may touch it for $1.
Use discount code David.
Oh, goodness gracious. But yes, catch Brenna at the Kenosha Art Market this weekend. Please, please, please. It is such a wonderful time. Anyone you want to shout out before we go? Say hi. Say hi to your brother.
Hello to my brother. Hello, brother Salem.
Oh.
I hope you and fam are well.
Aw.
Hello to Miriam down in Austin, Texas. Miss you. Love you.
Aw.
And again, hello, Robert, for being a valued listener.
Yes.
Robert.
We really appreciate your support.
Bob to his friends.
Bob, yeah, Rubber Ducky to his really good friends.
I'm glad you know him like that.
Yes.
Be mortified if he heard this at this point.
Oh man, I'm shooting for this. This
I
is the
hope
one
it-
that goes viral.
I hope so. I hope so. And you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, the ArtSpace podcast, and you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. If you can leave us a rating, some reviews, give us some feedback. We
Yeah.
always love that.
Let us know how we're doing.
Yeah, and always shout out to Would You Kindly for doing our intro and outro music. You guys are great. And we will see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.